now. So, Northeast Corner back in your life once again.
In your face.
Episode 15.
Yes.
You weren't here last week. It was your birthday. Happy birthday.
Yes, it was my birthday on the Tuesday, and obviously I had family that I couldn't see on the Tuesday, so I was like, right, okay, when do you want to do it? And they're like, Monday. And I'm like, oh, okay, as long as I can be back at this time. And then obviously a couple beers and family members. And yeah.
So it was the new game show in the Northeast Corner of podcaster parents.
Basically, yeah, because it was a nice time with my father, though. It was good. I'm actually quite gutted, though. I left one of my gifts for this podcast, actually from my friend. It was a lovely little notepad, and I actually left that at home. I was gutted.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for today, yeah. Oh, well.
Sad times.
We'll forgive you this time.
That's it.
Anyway, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to be doing conspiracy theories.
I have been looking so forward to this one.
I'm quite interested in the ones you've got, to be fair. I went for a few mainstream ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've done this a couple times, not the conspiracy theories itself, but we've kind of done research for topics. So, as such episodes, like the guy in The Simpsons, you might have recognized me from, well, for us, it's, the rise and fall of the Jeremy Kyle show, the Zodiac Killer, which is, it will be up by the time this is out. So we're good. We're
waiting for you, Jeremy.
Yeah, I know, right? He's still not been in touch.
Where you at?
It's 15 episodes now, Jeremy.
Shouting on you. Come on.
Anyway, right, let's segue into it.
We'll go first with what is a conspiracy theory? I actually put this into Google to define it. But
okay.
In your head, what is a conspiracy theory?
Right. Well, okay, because it can be quite subjective, right? Conspiracy theory is something that has no substance to it per se, right? Because it's a theory, whereas a conspiracy is a legit thing. Like a conspiracy is like something that's been uncovered, right? Yeah. Like government corruption or something like that, which is not really a conspiracy in today's world, but but I'm just saying, I'm just giving an example. So that in my head is what a conspiracy theory is. It's something, I think, to give it the title conspiracy theory, it has to be so left field or right field, whatever way I'm pointing right now. You know what I mean? Well,
from the definition on Google, as you know, I always do this, always get a little fact.
Fact checker, John.
That's it. So it states that it's a belief that some covert but influential organization is responsible for an unexplained event.
Right, okay, so like a mystery type thing. Yeah. And there's it's kind of like there's got to be someone to blame here. It can't just be a natural occurrence.
Yeah, that's why it's always like government.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing though, because government places such distrust in the people. Because government, not every government, I'd imagine, but not to go too hard in the paint, but the UK government, right? Like I was saying to my mum the other day, there has never been a government that has done so bad at hiding corruption and that's within it. If anything, they're just kind of comfortable with it now because nothing's really happened that people have found out about it and stuff. Like PPE contracts and investments and Boris's curtains and all that kind of thing.
Oh man, yeah. I know a few people like that. I can't really talk about it, but I'll tell you after the show. The show.
See, the thing about the government is that they always kind of make their life harder in the sense of people don't trust them anyway, but their retort to that to try and get them on side is just to force them to do things.
Yeah.
Which then fuels the whole distrust thing even more and actually probably converts more people into, oh, they're up to something dodgy here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I see that point of view. I probably agree with that point of view.
Truth over facts, man. Truth over facts.
Joe Biden. Right, so so the first one I decided to go with was the moon landing.
Oh,
so obviously moon landing was faked.
Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, the other guy that I can't remember his name at the moment.
This whole thing actually started from a guy called Bill Case. I believe it's pronounced Bill Casing, and his pamphlet, "We Never Went to the Moon: America's $30 billion Swindle." Swindle, right? I was going to say scandal, but it's swindle.
So he's basically saying it was a scam.
Yeah,
That is a
basically.
very common thing with conspiracy, right? The first thing they allude to is like, oh, it's a scam.
The worst thing about it is that this guy was actually involved in the space program.
Oh, so was he part of NASA then?
I'm not too sure if he was a part of NASA, but he was definitely input into the space program. He was actually donating a lot of money. I don't know if he was working within it, but he put a lot of money towards it. And it was a bit like, so now you're going to, like, really?
When was the moon? Was it 1967? It was in the 60s because there was the big kind of space race between the United States and the Soviet Union.
Yeah, I believe so. Oh, God. I don't actually know if... oh, yeah, so it was 1969.
Ah, right, okay. I was
So
2
that's
years
when,
late.
yeah, so it took 400,000 NASA employees and contractors to put Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin
Those
on the
famous words, one step for man, one large step for humanity. I might have just butchered that, but you know what I'm on about.
Step for man. Yeah. I think that's right. But then, do you remember the one where you heard it where it was actually supposed to be one large step for a man instead of just man?
Maybe they had bad editors.
Yeah, but have you never heard that one before?
No.
Oh yeah. Apparently there was I can't remember how long ago this was. I can't remember how I even heard it. But yeah, it was along the lines of it was edited for his title when he stepped off, meaning because he was meaning not to be selfish, but I mean he was the first man on the moon, and he kind of wanted to state that. And he was apparently kicking off about it because it's like I didn't say for man, it was for a man or a man,
specifically me.
Yeah, apparently, like, it's.
I suppose if you're on the moon, your ego is just going to go through the roof, isn't it?
Especially being the first one, apparently.
Like,
So.
if I win a game of pool in the pub, my ego goes through the roof. So God knows what I'm doing if I'm on the moon. I'm probably staying there. I'm probably making my own kingdom. I'm probably making a moon podcast. I don't know if Zoom works on the moon. It still have.
We're going to find out.
Otherwise, I've got to have Martians as co-hosts or something. I don't know.
I mean, yeah. So, like I said, there's quite a lot about this. So it began as a hunch or an intuition before turning into a true conviction that the US lacked the technical prowess to make it to the moon, or at least to the moon and back. Casing had actually contributed to the US space program, albeit tenuously, between 1956 and 1963.
Right.
He was an employee of Rocketdyne, a company that helped to design the Saturn V rocket engines. In 1976, he self-published the pamphlet called "We Never Went to the Moon: America's $30 billion Swindle," which sought evidence for his conviction by means of grainy photocopies and ludicrous theories.
So was this quite in close proximity to when the moon landing actually happened? Because if it's a pamphlet, it's not like... Because nowadays, there's so many media platforms to get your kind of agenda heard and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it was 1976 that the pamphlet came out. And it was from then on that he established a few perennials. That
he invested money in the space
Hollywood
program.
Movies and Fox News.
Oh,
yeah.
Like, good old Fox News.
Good old Fox News. But yeah, it's like I say, it's there's quite a lot about it. Like, I mean, have you heard about the video? Like the video of it, and like when you apparently play it, is it backwards or something? It just looks.
Yeah, that's another thing that always comes.
It's always something.
Scam and backwards playing the video.
Like rewind it.
There's a conspiracy theory. I know we're kind of branching off a little bit here, but I'll be brief. About Paul McCartney. The original Paul McCartney is apparently not alive, and the one today is just not Paul McCartney. And like people have came up with this because in the iconic album of the Beatles, Walking Across the Street, and that he's the only one wearing different color shoes, I believe. And apparently, in one of their songs, if you play it backwards, some of the lyrics say "Wake me up, dead man." Very frivolous evidence, but
it's like one of those ones where it's like a vinyl record and you play it backwards and Satan talks to you.
Yeah. Like we're coming up with common themes already, right? Scam, backwards playing. So the video being played backwards, what kind of relevance does this have to their kind of argument that
it was all staged, that it was actually done on a set?
Oh yeah, because like
they were going on about shadows and the way that the apparently because the oldies people know how gravity is actually out in space on
Yeah.
on the moon.
Has anyone else been to the moon yet other than NASA?
I believe there's other than NASA, there's got to be I believe there's other countries out
Do
there.
you think? I think Russia might have been.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but
No, I think you're right. I think
because
Russia
they
did
were
make it.
like,
I think it was arguably they may have been one of the ones first, was it not? It was
yeah,
quite a
because
big
that
argument on
well, it was
that.
the same tactics that people used with them. If like, wasn't there another country had said they'd gone to the moon, and the kind of Western world said, "Oh, that's fake. It's on a set."
Yeah.
Which is kind of ironic because maybe they just like, oh wait, a lot of people believe this. Let's just throw this out there to discredit them.
Let's just do it. But one of the other things that they state is how apparently lazy NASA are for using the same rover for the Apollo missions 15, 16, and 17. So apparently it's the exact same rover they've used as well. So it's like just apparently how lazy they are, and it's like there's no way they could actually have
used it multiple times.
Yeah, and actually afforded to do this. So it's just more arguments about where did the money go, which obviously kind of all links back to the $30 billion swindle.
Because this was right smack in the middle of when America and Russia were proper dogging it out to see who was the world's biggest superpower, and this was seen as one of the big factors, like who would win this race, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of who would get to the moon first.
Well, it was the space race, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like legit.
Yeah.
But did you know that 1 in 6 Brits actually agreed with the statement the moon landings were staged?
Yeah,
1 in 6.
That's like, how many people are there in Britain? 70 million?
Yeah, but that was actually down to a survey. That was actually a survey question. So, I don't remember being asked that question, to be fair. Like, did you ever? I was never asked.
But they always do it with like a really small group of, it's like a focus kind of group thing usually, isn't it, these kind of things.
Yeah. I mean, what's your thoughts on it? Do you think it was faked or? Obviously, it's basically been proven all bull poop.
Yeah.
So we know that, but I mean, what's your actual thoughts on it? Do you reckon it could be a swindle? Or?
I think as we see with everything when it comes to superpowers trying to get one up on each other, there is a lot of mudslinging and discrediting of the other. So I do think that obviously still was around in that time, and probably when it started the most. Well, no, propaganda's always been around.
Always.
As soon as paper was
military
invented,
tactic.
As soon as paper was invented, propaganda was invented, right? Like, because that's the first time you could get the message out, or even people shouting in the street in medieval times and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's a lot more kind of accessible today, right? Like you can say something really controversial or really out there on social media, and loads of people. I think one thing that gets people caught up in conspiracies, right, is that because of the internet, when like people say, oh, don't get all your information off the internet and stuff like that, which I, mostly agree with. Mm-hmm. The internet is quite a public orientated thing. Obviously there's big companies in that fund it, but a lot of people have more voice on there rather than, BBC News and all the big kind of platforms and stuff like that. Like I think we've kind of talked about this before in terms of. Well,
funny enough, the bit of information I got on Bill Casing, actually at the bottom of that, the guy actually states, he's like, he goes, in all honesty, the internet has given the people a voice. He's like, so, whether you choose to listen to it. I think
but even that can be manipulated to a sense, right? Like, depending on where you are on the political spectrum, the one that's out of power at the time is going to use that kind of everyone's against the people type thing to turn against them to have them more likely be in power, right? Like you see it in today's world, like with, for example, the kind of Trump era of America. Like he was always saying in the interviews and that the news were just against him. Do you know what I mean? Like everyone's against him. I actually,
they only show you what you watch.
No, but exactly. But that created a trickle down effect to when you see these people storming the actual Capitol building, believing everything that he said. You remember this at the start of January?
Yeah, sorry.
The guy with the horns, and they were like, just taking ornaments and stuff like that. And police officers were getting peppered spraying and all that kind of stuff. But it's a very dangerous tool in terms of getting your message out there, depending on who it is. I mean, I don't want to sound in the right hands because that sounds a bit elitist of like only these people can put it out there. But like, when like Trump was in office, for example, he kind of he wasn't really functioning president. And I don't think one of the conspiracy theories I have as well, we'll go into later on, in why I kind of think that not many of them have as much control as it's made out anyway. But the thing about him is he was just kind of like a truck driver in a burger joint as president, really, wasn't he? Like, he would just say things. Like, there was no diplomacy or any kind of... I watched a comparison video.
He wasn't a gentleman, that's for sure.
No, yeah. Well, I think that's been determined pretty...
He was like 100%
before he was president.
Shark businessman.
Yeah. I think... Did you not see, like, at the time of recording this, there's quite a big situation going on in Afghanistan right now, as we're all aware. The president now, Joe Biden, had pulled the American forces out of Afghanistan, and now the Taliban are, kind of taking over Afghanistan again. There's a lot of people, people are trying to leave and stuff like that, and lots of kind of disturbing scenes. And he put out some press release because he's banned from social media from the whole Capitol building thing, because he was because he was kind of instigating them to do. It was like, they're there stealing the election, and they're all in there. Go down there. And then he was like trying to say, like, I didn't tell him to go down there and that.
It's like, you're
it was
on
when he
TV.
told people to take the bleach, right, for the Rona thing. You remember this?
What?
You not see him say this? Like,
No.
he didn't tell. Well, no, he did tell people in a way. He was like saying, I think there's like bleach we can like. This is like quite early on, like April 2020. He was like saying to one of his advisors, like, I think there's like bleach, something, we can inject that. And they were kind of like, No, I've not heard of that theory.
Funny enough, I remember having a discussion with someone, because I'd been to just a local supermarket, and I'd seen on one of the spray bleach bottles like kills coronavirus, and I actually left and I was like, why would they just have kills coronavirus?
Because that's very broad.
Yeah, it doesn't say that.
Most
must
people
be
are not
sprayed.
Most people
we all
are
know
not going
bleach.
to take that as surfaces. They're going to be like, I'm going to put that on my nose.
Yeah, I've got fucking France. I've got Rona, so I'm gonna go and shoot some flash spray down my throat.
Yeah.
Not healthy.
Anyway, back to the space program. I know we kind of branched out. We do that a lot on this podcast, and we embrace it.
So, by the 1970s, 30% of Americans believed the moon landing had been faked as well. So, like I say, 1 in 6 Brits apparently believed it was faked, and 30% of Americans believed it was fake. Like I say, the primary... where am I going? So obviously we actually, like, it basically states after that now, it's all been proven that it happened.
It was legit,
Yeah, there is actually live footage.
To be fair, so much money got pumped in that program. You would be disappointed if it didn't happen.
They took back a lot of moon rock as well. Like, they took back a shed load of moon rock. Like, a lot. It'd be
funny if they just landed, there's like a kebab shop or something up there. It's just like, this place is just like Earth.
Woo! Get KFC.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for kind of like the moon landing, like... The rest of it's all in just videos. And
it's more of not a harmless one, but it's something like, if someone came out and said that confirmed that the moon landings were fake or something like that, it would be a big deal, but it wouldn't be like everyone. I suppose it'd be more of a money thing, right? Because a lot of people have been duped out of money, which might stem from people trying to say it's fake if they invested a lot of money and didn't get what they wanted out of it. So
didn't get to go to space.
Yeah, because bitterness can kind of cause a lot of friction, shall we say. And obviously now you've got like billionaires going up in space. You've got Bezos, the Amazon dude, Branson. We already discussed Branson. You didn't believe me when I said Branson was in space.
No, I did not believe you until you showed me the video.
I showed you the video.
Well, apparently then someone was trying to burst the bubble on that. They were like, apparently he's only in the stratosphere.
Doesn't matter. It's closer to space than we are.
I was a bit like, in my head, I was like, come on, people. I was like, it's 0G.
Yeah,
they're floating about. That is space. I was like, I would love to be there.
Did they play it backwards though?
Well, like that, did it happen? Is there a little string there somewhere?
There is probably someone out there. Some would say that Richard Branson's space is a scam. But how is it a scam? I don't get how it's a scam. Why is it always a scam?
People just can't help themselves, man.
Yeah.
So, would you like to tell us your first one, or shall I just go through mine and then we'll do yours, or which way do you want to do
We'll go one apiece.
We'll go one apiece.
Give each other a nice break. Okay, so I'm quite an avid historian, right? And mine, apart from the last one, which kind of was a bit left field, the first two that I have are pretty historical.
Yeah.
Now, the first time I became aware of this theory, or possibility rather, was when a bunch of FBI files got declassified. And basically in the writing it had said that they had actually had quite a genuine belief that Adolf Hitler, the German dictator of World War II, very nasty piece of work, just not a good person.
Genocidal maniac.
Yeah, dictator, absolute nuthead.
There's loads of things we could call him.
Yeah, just not anything pleasant anyway.
But apparently he's not dead.
Well, no, he most certainly is now.
Conspiracy theory.
But, well, no, because I think if I'm right, because I'm a historian and I'm fact checking you, fact checker John. I think he was born in like 1880 or something. So we're now 2021. So even if this theory was right, he's not going to be living to like 150. So
yeah, not a chance.
But anyway, so they believed, or had a genuine belief, that he had managed to escape Berlin. You know how the official story is that he committed suicide in a bunker when the Russians were taking Berlin and everything was crumbling down around him, and he would rather take his own life than get caught prisoner by the Russians, which, the Russians were going to absolutely F him up real bad for what had happened in Stalingrad and all that. So that was the official story, but the FBI in these declassified files believed that he had managed to escape to Argentina. Now, Argentina were actually allies of Nazi Germany. Maybe not officially, but they just had a good relationship. Mm-hmm. A lot of Nazi war criminals managed to flee to Buenos Aires, I believe. Argentina. Yeah. And actually, I was watching something on the Discovery Channel. It's called Hunting Hitler or something. So they were trying to find if any of this had any substance, whether he had
actually managed
to get to South America and whatnot. And they were... the guy was saying that in Argentina, there's like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of like German descent people in Argentina from the Nazis managing to escape to there in the 1940s. There's actual German communities.
Wow. In
like times of Argentina, like you, for example, going to like a barber shop, there'll be like a lot of stuff,
memorabilia.
Yeah, not memorabilia, but like what you'd expect to see in Germany rather than South America, if you know what I mean.
All right, okay.
Like in terms of
style.
Yeah. Like the shop and stuff,
layout,
and like
what they've got.
layouts and all that kind of stuff. I don't know the word for it right now. I was panicking on my own head, like find the word, and it's just not there. But
all the decorative stuff.
So I'm back to the phone notes, believe it or not, my friend. So let me just bring them up quickly. I probably should have had these prepared. There we go. So I'll read this all out, and then we'll kind of react to it as we go along, like we've done with various other episodes. The narrative that Hitler did not commit suicide, but instead escaped Berlin, was first presented to the general public by Marshal Grigory Zhukov at a press conference on June 9th, 1945. So not long after the war had ended, in Europe anyway. Yeah. On orders from Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, another infamous, not so great dictator.
Very bad man.
When asked at the Potsdam conference in July 1945 how Hitler had died, Stalin said he was either living in Spain or Argentina. Spain was also an ally of Nazis. There was a civil war going over there, and Germany helped one of the sides out to get to power or stay in power. I can't remember which it was.
Right, okay.
In July 1945, British newspapers repeated comments from a Soviet officer that a charred body discovered by the Soviets was a very poor double. American newspapers also repeated dubious quotes such as that of the Russian garrison commandant of Berlin, who claimed that Hitler had gone into hiding somewhere in Europe. This disinformation, propagated by Stalin's government, has been a springboard for various conspiracy theories, despite the official conclusion by Western powers and the consensus of historians that Hitler killed himself on the 30th of April 1945. It even caused a minor resurgence in Nazism during the Allied occupation of Germany, which is nuts.
Wow.
Because, you would think, obviously a lot of the German people were kind of radicalized, but obviously Nazism and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And, Germany was the superior country and everything. And, it was
the avian race.
Yeah, the Aryan race. Avian is a plane, my friend. Look at this. It's another T-shirt. You could not come in here without making a T-shirt.
Me and my goddamn math.
I feel like we probably shouldn't put that on a. That's probably not an appropriate joke for a t-shirt. It's not even a joke. It's just a mishap. The first detailed investigation by Western powers began in November 1945 after Dick White, then head of counterintelligence in the British sector of Berlin, had their agent Hugh Trevor Roper investigate the matter to counter the Soviet claims. Now, put this into context, Berlin was split into two, East and West Berlin, or East and West Germany rather.
Yeah.
The West being the Western powers, the Allies occupying it, and the East being the Soviet Union occupying the east of Germany, and obviously that all kind of crumbled when the Berlin Wall was knocked down in 1989 or 1991, around that time.
Yeah.
His findings that Hitler and Braun, who was Hitler's girlfriend, I think it was wife, who was I think she was like a Swedish actress or something like that, which is quite random because it's like the 40s, right? It's not like you're just traveling every day to. Anyway, had died by suicide in Berlin, were written in a report in 1946 and published in a book the next year. Regarding the case, Trevor Roper reflected, the desire to invent legends or fairy tales is greater than the love of truth, which we've kind of touched on a bit in the sense of sensationalism. Is that the correct terminology I'm using there? In terms of, would rather, it's almost like people want the most out there thing to be the truth rather than accepting that there is truth. Then there's the out there theory.
It's always the what if.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds crazy. Let's go with that.
Were you there?
No.
In 1947, 51% of Americans polled thought Hitler was still alive. So I think we're kind of coming across a common theme here between our two conspiracy theories. From all the polls, it seems like, from what we've. It was Americans, 30% for the moon landings, 1 in 6 British people, 51% of Americans, over half the country, just believed that Hitler was still alive. So we seem to be this common theme of we've always been a questioning society.
Oh yeah,
we've always have some kind of mistrust of the official story.
Well, the way that they would say it is we have great thinkers.
We
have the guys to ask the tough questions.
Great thinkers, and they worked in Arnold and Clark of all places.
What?
No, that's not fact. I was just making a joke. But, you know how like people say that, like, oh, I think for myself, and it's like, oh, are you a historian? It's like, no, I might be a Sainsbury's delivery driver.
But I have wisdom.
Yeah. Declassified FBI documents, which was I was referring to earlier, contain a number of alleged sightings of Hitler along with the theories of his escape from Germany. The FBI states that the information within those documents pertaining to the escape and sightings of Hitler cannot be verified. Obviously, it's not like, it's not like you have Instagram now where it's like...
And it's not like, HD.
Yeah. It's only in 360p. That's how we can't confirm the identity. Yeah. On the 30th of May 1946, while the Soviets were investigating rumours of Hitler's survival, 2 fragments of a skull were retrieved from the crater where Hitler was buried. The left piece of the parietal bones had gunshot damage. It was kept in Russia's federal archives in Moscow and believed to be Hitler's for decades. In 2009, a bone specializing archaeologist performed DNA and forensic tests on a sample of one of the skull fragments for an episode of History's Mystery Quest. The sample was found to be of a woman aged under 40. The same researchers also DNA tested a piece of cloth from the sofa soaked with Hitler's blood and confirmed that it belonged to a male. This prompted an executive of the Russian state archive to assert that no one claimed that was Hitler's skull, but why would you keep it in an archive and kind of say, oh, we got him, if you weren't claiming it was his skull?
Now they're probably thinking, oh, you found my wife.
The Zodiac one was a couple of episodes ago, man. We're going to go down a rabbit hole of who is this?
Oh, man.
According to French forensic pathologist Philippe Charlier, when doing a diagnostic of the skull, you have a 55% chance of getting the sex right. So that's pretty inconclusive, right? What are lie detectors? 95? What do they call them? The lie detectors they use, the ones that have the kind of polygraph. They're 95%, and people still contest. Yeah, so 55%, you've got to think there's more. There's more room for error, kind of. Yeah. Neither former.
I would not be trusting that. No.
Neither former Soviet nor Russian officials have claimed that the skull was the main piece of evidence. instead citing jawbone fragments and 2 dental bridges found in May 1945. The items were shown to 2 associates of Hitler's personal dentist, Hugo Blaschke, his assistant Kathe Hausermann, and longtime dental technician Fritz Echtmann. They confirmed that the dental remains were Hitler's in bronze, as did Blaschke in later statements. According to Ada Petrova and Peter Watson, Hugh Thomas disputed these dental remains in his 1995 book, but also speculated that Hitler probably died in the bunker after being strangled by his valet Heinz Linge. I love it when, like, they're trying to investigate something. There's like 100 more conspiracy theories that come out as you're investigating the original one.
I'd say you're like, what? Wait, hold on a minute.
They noted that even Dr. Thomas admits that there is no evidence to support this theory. Ian Kershaw wrote, the theories of Hugh Thomas that Hitler was strangled by Ling Jie and that the female body burned was not that of Eva Braun, who escaped from the bunker, belong in Fairyland. In 2017, Philippe Charlier confirmed that teeth in one of the jawbone fragments were in perfect agreement with an X-ray taken of Hitler in 1944. This investigation of the teeth by the French team, the results of which were reported in the European Journal of Internal Medicine in May 2018, found that the dental remains were definitely Hitler's teeth. According to Charlier, there is no possible doubt our study proves that Hitler died in 1945 in Berlin.
Right.
What to take in, right? And there's still a little bit left, but I thought we'd just kind of react to all that.
Well, I mean, you can't argue with dental records. Like, that's one thing that you know.
Yeah, like, people go to jail for dental records and
yeah,
stuff. It's
you
pretty
cannot
conclusive.
argue with a dental record. It just doesn't happen.
A phone call there, just ignore that in the midst of recording, unfortunately.
But yeah, you know, I mean, like you say, people go to jail because of that, because of dental records.
Well, that's because it's so conclusive, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it is. It's fact. But,
yeah.
I mean, we want truth and facts.
Yeah, well, we want both.
Yeah.
So it goes into a little bit about the CIA as well. So, because I found it interesting that it was FBI documents, because from my understanding, the FBI deals with crime on American soil.
Federal.
Yeah, like that, you know, because Osama bin Laden was like the top on the most wanted list for years, and I wondered like what, because the military was dealing with that, but obviously what we're going to get onto later happened on American soil, hence why they dealt with it also.
Yeah.
A declassified CIA document dated October 3rd, 1955 highlights claims made by a self-proclaimed former German SS trooper named Philip Citroen that Hitler was still alive and that he left Colombia for Argentina around January 1955. So this is like 10 years after the war's done. Like, you know, life's kind of trying to repair itself and that from all the damages happened. Enclosed with the document was an alleged photograph of Citroen and a person he claimed to be Hitler. On the back of the photo was written Adolf Schuttelmeyer, which I might have butchered that pronunciation, but we'll roll with it. And the year 1954, the report also states that neither the contact who reported his conversations with Citroen nor the CIA station was in a position to give an intelligent evaluation of the information. The station's chief superiors told him that enormous efforts could be expended on this matter with remote possibilities of establishing anything concrete, and the investigation was dropped.
Oh, wow.
Do you think it's possible?
What, that he escaped? I mean, well...
The Germans were quite advanced in the war, right? And the way that we managed to beat them was just out-manufacturing them in terms of, for every Tiger tank, which was quite a superior tank to what we had 10.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, numbers.
And that's kind of like how America, you know, the waking of, not just from Pearl Harbor, the waking of the sleeping giant analogy, but it also realized, we can churn stuff out like this, like it's no problem. And yeah, take out someone that's been preparing for war for 20 years in the space of like 4.
Wipe out.
Yeah. But yeah, like I've seen a couple documentaries on this from eyewitness accounts, which kind of say he lost the tash and everything. It's like, well, how do you know it's him then? Like,
that was the iconic thing. That was the only real well, we all could.
Yeah, because like apparently he shaved his head and that, but I was like, you know, you've never met this person in person. You've maybe seen like speeches or even heard, because TV wasn't exactly a common thing back in the 40s and 50s. So how do you know it's him?
Exactly.
And like obviously there's a lot of notoriety to come out and be on like the Discovery Channel or Hunting Hitler and all this kind of stuff and be like, well, I've seen him, yeah, you know.
No, like Bigfoot.
Yeah, just I did nothing about it. You know, he was a mass murderer and I just, you know, just chilled at the other end of the bar.
Yeah.
It does make me uncomfortable knowing that there's a possibility that it did happen though.
I see. I don't know. I mean, like, it's,
because it's coming.
I'm gonna go back to the dental records. The dental records of well, Do you reckon he would have went as far as to change his dental records?
Well, they were quite sophisticated, not sophisticated. They were quite, they were quite, what's the word I'm looking for here? Advanced in technology and stuff like that. I can't answer the phone right now, person. Let me just respond to this. Anyway, right, we're back. So I think the thing that kind of piques my interest in this is that there's two, government agencies, two big, the CIA and the FBI, two of the biggest investigators.
I am really interested, and you have piqued my interest when you did mention about, like you said, about the FBI files. I just thought, oh wow, so they're obviously, I think it's after a certain amount of time these files do get
declassified, right? Because
and
there's no way that
public.
Hitler's alive today.
Yeah, we may not be able to see everything on these. There may be things redacted, but we can still see what's not.
But I suppose at the same time, of them being declassified might also aid the argument that it's just the official story is true in the sense of they're comfortable with people seeing what they thought in that at certain times. Might
Propaganda.
Not be no, yeah.
Cause a conspiracy theory. Yeah. Conspiracy.
But yeah, I guess we'll end on this question about this one. I feel extremely uncomfortable with kind of knowing that there, however small it may be, there might be a possibility that this person who committed so many atrocities, put so many people under oppression in that, might have lived out a retired life and never suffered consequences for the monster that he was.
I really hope that's not the case. And that sounds quite morbid, but I actually really hope that's not the case. I hope he ended in as the official story goes.
Yeah.
I hope that's how it actually went. So, I'm a bit sad that he didn't get his comeuppance. He took his own life, but,
Yeah.
You can't win everything. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people feel that way.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's my first one.
That's your first one. So
bring on round two.
Round two for me was Princess Diana. I mean, there was a lot of things about Princess Diana's death. I mean, it started off with it was the paparazzi's fault. They were too close to the car. They were putting off the driver. The driver obviously got too distracted and then crashed. Obviously, that got thrown out. That actually got thrown out. They were like, no, the paparazzi have nothing to do with this. They were at such a distance where it wasn't causing an issue. So obviously that one straight away flopped. Like I say, I mentioned to you earlier, there was an interesting one I read regarding a letter. Now this letter stated that Diana was apparently going to suffer a terrible accident. And apparently that letter came from, I'm going to have to find it.
Is this in a threat format?
Yes.
So it wasn't like she'd been to her local psychic and it was like, you're going to suffer a terrible neck injury.
Yeah, exactly.
It was more like...
It was, this is going to happen to you. Yeah, so that's why obviously that theory came in. And then the other theory is that the limo driver, Henry Paul, who was drunk at the time of the accident, intentionally crashed the car.
Why would he intentionally? Well, if he was drunk...
Well, because Paul was head of security at the Ritz Hotel in Paris. This might be quite a long read here, where the couple had departed from just prior to the crash. Conspiracy theorists believe he might have been on the payroll of a national intelligence service group.
Yeah, it just goes way left field again, doesn't it?
And obviously, the belief was that this group wanted Diana dead. Other theorists believe that Diana's medical care after the crash was deliberately sabotaged for conspiracy theorists. For conspiracy theorists in the US, this idea arose from the difference between French and American approaches to emergency care.
Right.
So obviously, I'm not 100% on training that's given to medics.
Intelligence services. Medical training. Yes.
Yeah. All around the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if the French get the same training that we do. I honestly don't know, so I can't comment on that. In France, protocol dictates that emergency medical personnel attempt to stabilize a patient before transferring to the hospital. In the US, getting to the hospital is the first priority. So I'm guessing that French paramedics are probably trained to do
on the scene kind of stuff.
On the scene kind of, basically just offer emergency medical care. Because Diana was treated at the scene and not immediately rushed to the nearest hospital, some think this is proof she was purposefully killed.
The thing
that's quite, that is quite a brutal one.
The thing, it's actually quite similar to the one that I'm going to bring up after we go over this, is the way, not through any fault of her own, because at the end of the day she was quite a strong-willed person, right, and did a lot of good, did a lot of charity work, and I remember, do you remember, like, she used to get a lot of stick for, like, shaking hands with people that tested positive for HIV and that was, like, a big step forward, because when HIV first came about, there was a lot of discrimination against people with HIV, of, like, oh, it's your fault that you've got this, and all, rather than it being, like, it's a really deadly disease that there's no cure for.
Yeah, we were treating them like...
we were
treating them like a deadly disease.
Yeah, a second-class kind of society, and, she kind of, I don't want to say help those people become human again, because those people should have been human anyway, regardless of whether they had HIV or not.
Well, exactly.
She, went a long way to, like, taking the stigma out of that.
Well, she was a brave woman for doing it. You are right. That was a big statement. Big statement.
Obviously, of course, she was in the royal family for a certain period of time, and then divorced Prince Charles because he ended up marrying that one that he's married to now. I can't actually remember her name. Yeah. But another thing is she spoke out against the royal family quite avidly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, in terms of, maybe not directly, but she was doing loads and loads and loads of interviews.
Yeah.
To do with her other life, but she was also kind of...
She was very open and loud about it.
Yeah, she was very...
not technically a bad thing. She had, she's seen it, so she had no secrets.
Yeah, exactly. And the royal family don't like that.
Well, exactly. They're like, hush, hush.
Yeah. Well, no, they're a very secretive bunch of people, right?
I'd say, well, I mean, if they wanted everyone to know about them, I mean, they do that.
Yeah, but they rarely comment on anything, any controversy that surrounds them. It's just lights out kind of approach to it. And it's kind of repeating itself in a way with the whole Meghan Markle, Prince Harry stuff that's going on the last couple of years, in terms of they didn't really speak about it until that interview was done, where there was the accusations of, like, the
quite a bad statement that was made.
Yeah, like Harry's son's race had been brought up and stuff like that. But back to the royal family, where we branch off and we were passionate about what we talk about sometimes, but...
Yeah, so basically it was going to link into kind of what we were just kind of talking about media. Mm. So a lot of the conspiracies around Princess Diana's death, especially because they were made so convincing and they were so widespread, and these were helped by ones like the Daily Express and an actual Egyptian businessman, Mohammed Al-Fayed, that the Met Police were forced to launch Operation Paget, I think.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, an inquiry to establish whether there was any truth in the theories. It lasted years, cost millions of pounds, and found that theories were entirely without foundation, and that all that happened that night was an incredible, unfortunate accident. The report examined 175 theories about what happened that night, some of them small, some of them profound. It found that none of them were true. So that's unfortunately the one for Princess Diana. It was just a very unfortunate mishap.
Well, the biggest one, the elephant in the room, is that the general consensus of people that believe it's a conspiracy is that the royal family took her out, right?
Well, that's it. Well, that could link to the letter, which was apparently from Prince Charles, basically threatening her.
Do you know what I was thinking the other day?
With a terrible accident.
This might sound pretty mental, right? Everyone, well, not everyone, but, like, people like Piers Morgan, all the kind of right-wing media and stuff like that, are kind of talking about how, like, Harry and that are always talking, like, they wanted privacy and now they're talking all the time and that. Mm-hmm. But, he's clearly rightfully very angry that what happened to his mum probably could have been avoided, right?
Yeah.
Even if it is the official story of the media and that, because she literally got no support to avoid that from happening. Because she was, like, this mega celebrity, if you will.
She was just left out there with her own car.
Exactly, yeah. And if he kind of sees that repeating itself, it's all... I
actually remember when it happened. I remember going home. Obviously, I didn't watch it all, but it was on the news. It was on the for days, the footage. And I remember I got home at night and it was it was just on the news, and I was like, I didn't fully understand what was going on. I was a bit like, what's happened? And my mum was like, yeah, Princess Diana, she's I think she's dead. I was like, what? So that's crazy. You know?
Do you think like he tries to keep it in the news so there's more media attention on it, so nothing can happen to his wife?
Maybe it's just I remember
because he's seen it happen once, right? So he probably doesn't want. Well, no, probably he doesn't want it to happen to obviously the person that he loves, right? And has 2 kids with now, or one and one on the way.
Maybe he kind of just does it as a just be, as a think.
Yeah.
Please think about.
I think
what
there's
you're
like a
doing.
kind of there's a kind of thing with the royal family where they take care of their own quote unquote.
Yeah.
Like
Cover
obviously, Prince Andrew. We've all heard about what's going on, and
yeah,
he's been pretty much protected.
Well, when you say that, like we all kind of know what's been going on, but like you're right, you're not hearing much about it at all. Where if this was anyone else, it would be everywhere.
And that's you're mental to think that's not being consciously done. If they're not speaking to the papers, be like, no, just leave that out. Don't report that. Do you know what I mean?
So if you report that, then would close you down.
Yeah. I'm just, to be honest, I'm just not a fan of the royal family. I don't like the system of it.
Monarchy.
The amount of money that these people gain, and it's that kind of superiority complex of, oh my God, there's these people here.
They rule.
Yeah,
they
and we've got to go see them because they're so better than us.
That's it. It's it. You're right. It's the monarchy is like a tourist attraction.
Yeah,
but, I mean, it's not as if like the Queen comes out and sees these people.
No, exactly. Yeah,
they go and stand outside like Buckingham Palace and take photos.
Yeah,
that's what happens.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But like you got like I'm not saying tarnishing it all with the same brush. Like the 2 Diana's boys, have done charity and. We're both...
They've helped our military service.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whatever your stance is in the military and wars that have happened over the last 20 years, you can't hate on people that have actually...
had to go do
it. Put their life on the line and stuff like that as their job, so...
People forget that when you're in there, you're on a contract for, like, a minimum, I think it's, like, 8 years or something now. It used to be, like, a minimum of 4 years. And, yeah, like, it's, like... And when you go in, you've got to go to these places. Like, and those boys knew they had. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I remember speaking to a few people, and they were like, "Yeah, don't go thinking he's out there just with his troop. He's out there with his troop and a couple Gurkhas."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's got his personal security with him as well. But to be fair, he still went out there. He still done it. He still took part. Mm-hmm. He was out there. That was the main thing. And that is great. It's like, yeehaw, get in. Monarchy get well. Yeah, he is a member of the royal family, so I suppose he is still monarchy, isn't he?
But at the end of the day, like, people shouldn't be judged in the royal family, They should be judged on what they do as a person, right, and who they are.
What they give to the community.
Yeah, well, not just that, just how they conduct themselves and stuff like that, right? Like, no one should be in a position of power where you should celebrate someone just because you're told to celebrate them.
Yeah, and I suppose we
all have that self-respect for ourselves of... Yeah, I'm not going to like someone if they're a total dick to me.
It's like we all celebrate Diana's life because of what she managed to achieve.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's the thing, like,
and the legacy she has left on. It's like you say, like your two boys have been sound.
Yeah. And obviously, like going back to the shaking hands with the HIV patients and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it destigmatized a lot of that. Right, because people would probably get thrown out of places if they got told do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I shook that person's hand, and then unfortunately they were terminally ill. People would be like, "You need to get out now." Yeah. And she was like, "How you doing?" I think she was like actually picking up some of the children as well.
Because it was because it was a lie as well. It couldn't be transmitted like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas obviously Boris shaking hands with coronavirus patients, not so much.
Unfortunately, a little bit different.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's obviously my second one. So come on, Ryan, hit me with your second one.
You ever heard of a guy called John F. Kennedy?
Oh yes.
There was a pretty contested assassination around him, so I feel like I've got talking points here, so I'm going to read the stuff that I looked up, and then I'll get to the talking points. We can talk back and forth.
Yeah.
And then, so back to the old phone notes. I should really have them open again. I'm unprepared. Here we go. Right. Ready for this?
Yeah.
Conspiracy theorists consider 4 or 5 groups alone or in combination to be the prime suspects in the assassination of Kennedy. So the official story: Lee Harvey Oswald shot John F. Kennedy 3 times, and we'll go down the line to that because actually, when he was arrested in that, he claimed to be a patsy, which is apparently a nickname for someone that's easily influenced, easily manipulated, and so on and so forth. But we'll get right to that. The CIA, the military-industrial complex, organized crime, the government of Cuba, led by Fidel Castro. Now, have you seen the film The Irishman?
Yes, I have.
I've read the book on it also. So if you've seen The Irishman, you kind of it hints that the mob may have organized this hit when Joe Pesci's character says to De Niro, it's like, if they can whack a president, they can whack a union boss.
Yeah.
And not exactly that. If Scorsese's wanting any extra actors, I'm available.
We could do this.
Some other alleged foreign conspirators include the KGB and Nikita Khrushchev, who was the the president of Russia? I don't know. He was the leader of the Soviet Union at the time, so I don't know how it works. And obviously,
was it USSR?
Yeah, USSR. And obviously, like we were saying, it's kind of similar. 1963, Kennedy got assassinated, so 1963. He was a lot younger. He wasn't 63 years old. We're in the similar time frame of America, Russia clashing on a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so I pulled up some information about Lee Harvey Oswald just to give a bit of context of the man that they say assassinated John F. Kennedy. So Oswald was placed in juvenile detention at the age of 12 for truancy, during which time he was assessed by a psychiatrist as emotionally disturbed due to a lack of normal family life. After attending 22 schools in his youth, he quit repeatedly, and finally, when he was 17, joined the Marines. So he's got like a military background, which gets supports these firearms, knows how to shoot a weapon accurately and whatnot.
Yeah, he's trained to kill.
Yeah. Oswald was court-martialed twice whilst in the Marines and jailed. He was honourably released from active duty in the Marine Corps into the reserve, then promptly flew to Europe and defected to the Soviet Union in October 1959. So he became a communist, right? That was the whole kind of America-Russia battles, capitalism, communism, and I guess you still kind of see those debates had today and all that kind of stuff. He lived in Minsk, Belarus, married a Russian woman named Marina, and had a daughter. In June 1962, he returned to the United States with his wife and eventually settled in Dallas, where their second daughter was born. Oswald shot and killed Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963, from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository as the president traveled by motorcade through Delhi Plaza in Dallas. About 45 minutes after assassinating Kennedy, Oswald shot and killed Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit on a local street. He then slipped into a movie theater where he was arrested for Tippett's murder. Oswald was charged with the assassination of Kennedy, but he denied responsibility for the killing, stating that he was a patsy, which I explained a couple of minutes ago what that definition of that is. 2 days later, Oswald was fatally shot by a local nightclub owner, Jack Ruby, on live television in the basement of Dallas Police Headquarters.
Wow.
Yeah.
What? Wait. He shot him on what? Live TV?
Live TV.
Wow. What?
So I guess the argument for that is they're taking out the person that might be able to, clear his own name, I suppose you would say.
Or throw someone under the bus.
Yeah. Like that's the cynical side of it, right? Like someone could talk.
Well, so, that's normally what happens when mob gets involved.
Yeah.
Someone talks. He's a rat.
In September 1964, Warren Commission concluded that Oswald had acted alone when assassinating Kennedy. This conclusion, though controversial, was supported by investigations from the Dallas Police Department.
Was that kind of linking into his just military background? Is that what they're going to try base that on?
Well, yeah, you would imagine so, right? He knows how to handle a rifle, probably.
Yeah. And I'm guessing in the Marines, you're probably it's what you say, a rifle, not like just an assault rifle, but an actual rifle.
Yeah. The Dallas police supported this theory. The FBI, the United States Secret Service, and the House Select Committee on Assassinations. Despite forensic and ballistic and eyewitness evidence supporting the official findings, public opinion polls have shown that most Americans still do not believe that the official version tells the whole truth of the events. And the assassination spawned numerous conspiracy theories, which is what we're here to talk about. The Warren Commission concluded that 3 shots were fired from Texas School Book Depository in a time period ranging from approximately 4.8 to in excess of 7 seconds. Some assassination researchers, including Josiah Thompson and Anthony Summers, dispute the commission's findings. They point to the evidence that brings into question the number of shots fired, the origin of the shots, and Oswald's ability to accurately fire 3 shots in such a small period of time from such a rifle. These researchers suggest that multiple gunmen were involved. Now, have you ever heard the theory that the bullets hit at different angles?
No.
Well, apparently because 2 bullets hit the car, I think. But apparently there was the crowd ducked down from a different angle as well, which would suggest that a bullet had came past one of them.
Or from behind them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. So yeah, multiple shooters. But because normally when you see anything kind of like an assassin's nature, when they've got the rifle, they normally, when they have the blinds and they have the string, they normally use that string to like for stability, don't they? I mean, have you ever shot a gun?
No,
neither have I. So
not in real life. On like video games. And stuff like that.
Not a COD master, but I give it a shot.
If it was a case of pressing R2, I guess I would be in the frame. Addressing speculation that Oswald was a CIA agent or had some relationship with the agency, the Warren Commission stated in 1964 that their investigation revealed no evidence that Oswald was ever employed by the CIA in any capacity. The House Select Committee on Assassinations reported similarly in 1979 that there was no indication that Oswald's CIA file that he had ever had contact with the agency, and concluded that CIA was not involved in the assassination of Kennedy. Now, this kind of brings us on to what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, not actually on the podcast when we were outside. Remember I was telling you about that book I'm reading? Or I was reading, sorry, about... I've actually forgotten the name of it. I haven't forgot to look at the title the last time I've put it open, but it's about the Charles Manson murders and their belief that the CIA might have potentially been experimenting on people with LSD, and that might have, Manson might have been one of those experiments.
Yeah, I do remember you telling me about this. You actually said you were going to lend me this book.
Yes, but I will follow through on that.
I'm
I just
waiting
need to
for
finish
this.
it first and remember the name of it, evidently. So that kind of ties into this theory, right? In the sense they think when I was thinking about it, was like, experiments and whatnot, and I'll show you how I think it ties into it from a cynical point of view later down the line. Gayton Fonzie, an investigator of the House Select Committee on Assassinations, wrote that investigators were pressured to not look into the relationship between Lee Harvey Oswald and the CIA. He stated that the CIA agent David Atlee Phillips, using the alias Maurice Bishop, was involved with Oswald prior to the Kennedy assassination in connection with anti-Castro Cuban groups, which kind of contradicts the whole kind of he's a communist type thing, right? Because Russia and Cuba had sort of the same communism belief system.
Well, exactly, yeah.
So this is coming up to the. Have you ever heard of the military-industrial complex? Yes. This is it was alluded to, but what I'm about to bring up here, it's never really been mentioned since. So, are you aware of who Dwight D. Eisenhower was?
No.
He was a World War II general, and he ended up becoming president of the United States of America just before Kennedy.
Oh, right, okay.
So, in the farewell speech given by U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower before he left office on January 17, 1961, warned the nation about the power of the military establishment and the arms industry. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition, this is a direct quote by the way, of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. Some conspiracy theorists have argued that Kennedy planned to end the involvement of the United States in Vietnam and was therefore targeted by those who had an interest in sustained military conflict, including the Pentagon and defense contractors. One conspiracy theory suggests that a secret or shadow government, including wealthy industrialists and right-wing politicians, ordered the assassination of Kennedy. Peter Dale Scott has indicated that Kennedy's death allowed for policy reversals desired by the secret government to escalate the United States military involvement in Vietnam. Now, So that's
Vietnam's not exactly a nice subject for many people to talk about.
No. But this is what... it's very brief. Like, if I pulled up all the information, we'd be here for 10 hours. I know we've got a 104-year-old caster, but I feel like it would drag on a little bit. So I've got some talking points. I've kind of pulled little things out of what I've just read to you there so we can kind of go over them. So the list of Kennedy's enemies. Now, you know how we were saying, like, Diana kind of... I don't want to sound cynical and, like, it was self-inflicted, but she'd made herself an enemy of the royal family is kind of what the conspiracy tends to lean towards, and that's why Kennedy had so many enemies, right? So in The Irishman, the film that we referenced a couple minutes ago, his brother, John F. Kennedy's brother, Robert Kennedy, was, I think it was Attorney General, I believe was the official title. Forgive me if I'm wrong. And he was tasked with dealing with organized crime because Kennedy wanted to clamp down on organized crime. But apparently his dad, who had been in office before him, I don't know if he'd been in office, but his dad that was in politics anyway had been heavily influenced by the mob because they had union bosses like Jimmy Hoffa, who's the guy that is in one of the main characters in The Irishman, had kind of got him to that position. So they kind of thought having him in there would mean more influence on them. So they have this guy coming along and his brother in that to give them all this bother because Jimmy Hoffa went to jail, lost his union, head of union status, and he could never regain it after that and whatnot, and all the events that occurred with that, whatever you believe. And one thing I find very peculiar is in the book, because the Kennedy assassination happened in the midst of the trial of Jimmy Hoffa, the Robert Kennedy, JFK's brother, was the prosecutor in, or leading investigator, or whatever you want to call it. And so Jimmy Hoffa turns up to court, and they asked him for his reaction to the JFK thing, because the JFK thing had happened the day before, or a couple hours before, I can't remember. And he said, well, today Bobby Kennedy is just another lawyer. It's quite sinister, that, right?
Ooh, you ain't nobody now.
And here's another thing, though, right? The CIA and the mob had been on operations to try and oust Castro from Cuba, right? You know, stuff like the Bay of Pigs and all that. Because the mob had a problem with Castro because he shut all their casinos down and booted them out of Cuba. And obviously the United States had an interest in Cuba in terms of Russia were trying to supply them nuclear arms. It was the whole capitalism, communism thing again. And it all kind of interlinks into one thing, right? Because in the end, they all kind of have similar grievances with Kennedy. The military-industrial complex is obviously something that wants to make money out of going to war. He wanted to end the war in Vietnam. The right wing were against him. Kennedy was quite a progressive in terms of civil rights and against racial discrimination, which was
rampant.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's. I don't want to say it's better that because I don't think it's my place to say anything like that. But it was horrific in that period of time in the US, and Castro, the Russians didn't like Kennedy because he would get involved. Like, you're not giving these arms to Cuba.
Yeah, exactly.
He tried to oust Castro from the Bay of Pigs thing. And obviously the mob, he was kind of giving them a hard time when really they had seen him as the person they had got to kind of make their life easier in the corporate system. So the list of enemies is long.
Yeah.
And if you think the CIA and the mob had collaborated before, the military-industrial complex wanted to keep war going, the Russians and the Cubans wanted to keep their arms going.
Well, that's it. When there's war going, there's someone making money.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's making money.
The right-wing people didn't want civil rights to go through for, different races, which Kennedy was in favor for. So the list is endless.
That's crazy. When you think about it like that, you're like, you can understand. Well, you can't understand. It's a shame he got assassinated. I mean, I'd imagine he might have achieved some pretty wonderful things, but.
Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we don't know who he really was,
know.
but this is just my thinking of it. There was a lot of motive from big, powerful places.
From many places.
So,
the mob, they got, possibly the CIA. Yeah. That's, you don't want to be getting pressure from those kind of people.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that thank you for reminding me when I was talking about Trump earlier, and I was talking about presidents not necessarily being in control. The CIA are a massive entity in America, right? And they have quite a lot of control of their own. And one thing was Trump, when he was in office, kept falling out with the FBI and the CIA, right? Remember there was a big thing, he sacked the director of the FBI and stuff, and so it kind of shows you, like, because that's the president, but these other organizations were still having like a big say. I'm not saying that, you know, because like obviously we don't really want Trump to have the final say, because I don't know, he would have built bouncy castles everywhere and got everyone to firebomb everyone's house and said that it wasn't his fault and inject bleach and whatever else he was saying.
I've always seen it as the president is
the face.
It sounds mean, but he's treated like a puppet.
Yeah,
he's told what he can say. He can offer a suggestion. Obviously, he holds the power to sit at the table and offer a suggestion. It's like owning a share. You know, like he has a say, but he can't just go out and make his own decision. And I think when they do, we've seen repercussions of that happening. Like there's been a few presidents who have let a few things slip, which they shouldn't have. And like they've had a lot of stigma about it. You know, it can be quite sketchy.
The video that terrifies me the most is the Eisenhower speech, where he's basically saying, "I'm the president of the United States, or I'm about to leave as the president of the United States. This thing's growing, and it's going to have more power than any position that we could ever hold, and it's going to start making decisions for us."
Well,
it's basically what he kind of says. It says it's
the
there,
office,
and it will continue to persist. And if you think of all the stuff that's happened over the course of 1961 he left till now, which is 60 years in itself, you've had Iraq twice, Afghanistan. We can go into that for days with what's happening there and how it's, our kind of thoughts on that and whatnot, and Vietnam and many other examples.
Well, exactly, and I mean, there's to be fair, there's so many. I don't want to talk about one. We'll end up down a rabbit hole.
we might just end up down a hole if we go too in depth.
Exactly.
So I guess I've got a question now. So that was a talking point. Here's a question. This is for you. After all that I've read to you and all that we've talked about so far on this matter, could Lee Harvey Oswald really have acted on this alone?
So to do the 3 shots, apparently you say 2 hit the car, and I'm guessing only one was. The footage you see one kind of impact. But was it 2? Was it only one that impacted with him, or was it?
I think it shot him. I think he shot him in the head. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I believe that was what happened.
With being a
just
Marine,
just off your gut.
No, I think there's a superior power involved. Same kind of thing.
Do you think he could have been manipulated to do something like that?
Probably. He's probably been told that we're going to frame you if you do it or not.
Well, not just that, but if you think about the Manson thing that was on about, could not something similar have happened with Lee Harvey Oswald?
But you've got to imagine being high on LSD and...
Doesn't necessarily have to be LSD, by the way. I'm just saying
that was a kind of...
That's just one example.
But that was the heavily one that was influencing people, obviously, because that's a proper mind-altering kind of drug. And I think that's the state. And
from his background, emotionally disturbed, didn't have the greatest upbringing.
Yeah, it could be. It could have all just spouted from his own hate.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, if someone is heavily trained, I mean, I don't know the training they go through. So once again, it's really hard to comment. But I do believe that someone's influenced him.
Took him out.
Well, yeah, like
2 days after he was arrested.
Just a nightclub owner.
And that just kind of, we never knew what happened after that, right? Because the evidence died with him of what really happened, right? Whether he did it or not.
Which is probably why.
Or whether he did it on his own accord or did it through something else.
Through outside influences, yeah. I do reckon an outside influence had a big part to play. And I do actually think...
There's too many enemies there, isn't there?
Yeah.
This is where...
Not just for just one guy just to be like, I'm going to do it.
This is one of the unique ones, though, where I say to myself, I honestly have no clue where to go with it, though. Because there is that big of a list.
Yeah.
1 minute I think, oh no, the mob, that's the one. But what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago, I think that's the one. Or the Cold War communist angle, that's the one. And I don't know. Because this is such a unique one where it's a minefield of possibilities.
It's out there.
But it's just one that I struggle to believe the official story. I don't know what happened, but I struggle to believe that Lee Harvey Oswald just went and shot JFK. And
do you know what our common theme is? We don't trust the media that much.
No,
we
but,
really
like,
don't trust the media.
the thing
that
is,
much.
like, I think there's a difference between trust and there's people that think the media are against everyone.
Yeah.
But from my point of view, there is some great journalism out there, right?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
But especially in today's age, it's not necessarily about journalism. It's about how many views and how many clicks and all that kind of stuff that saves your job.
Yeah,
So that's where clickbait,
crazy news,
and,
not the actual news,
and sensationalism overcomes all that.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Right. So
two last little talking points. Do you ever remember the iconic unidentified witness photos of the JFK thing?
No.
The lady and the man with the umbrella, they're in different shots in different places and they never got identified who they were.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. And they reckon, well, I suppose I could link into the theory of there was 2 extra shooters.
Mm-hmm. I also...
But was them photos taken like
around
just
the car,
after?
As the car was coming through and about to go through.
So I mean, but they stated it was he was shot with a rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And how far away were they? Were they in the group?
In the
people?
crowd, but they always stand out for some reason.
There's no way they could have. I reckon they would have been.
I also heard. I don't know if there's. Don't quote me on this. One of the theories I heard, was that there was a bunch of homeless people on the side of the road and stuff like that, as around the crowd.
I think I've heard.
But apparently, you can see outlinings of suit underneath the attire that they're wearing to look homeless.
So it's like, all right, okay. So
they could be wearing a perfectly 3-piece suit underneath that.
Underneath their trash
I've
bag.
not seen that. That's just something I've heard. So,
but I know I'm interested in that one that you said with this photograph of these two separate people in this crowd. It's like, because I don't obviously, in my head, if I was going to link it to there was definitely 2 extra shooters, I wouldn't have said they were shooters. I would have said that they were spotters. Like,
yeah,
he's past me.
Yeah.
Now, kind of thing. Like, one will say he's in the zone, and the other one will be like,
because you've got to think they spoke to everyone that was there, because obviously the president of the United States getting assassinated is like.
But that would lead for, like I say, an outside influence like CIA.
Yeah, suppose. And then, like you said, like we mentioned earlier, like apparently there was pressure not to look into the connection between Oswald and the CIA. So, and one final thing, because we've went on this for a little bit. Is this conspiracy that I have just brought up here, or conspiracy theory, I should say, because it's not confirmed as a conspiracy, it's just many theories about it, and which is what I would say. Is this the conspiracy theory that has the most theories about it?
It's gotta be.
Yeah, there's so many, man.
Well,
I've probably not even listed all the possibilities
definitely.
right now.
I was gonna say my next one's quite a big one, but it's kind of only really.
There's quite with conspiracies, even though people interpret it differently. There's quite a common theme behind it. Where this just goes
that one's
left,
like
right,
a spider graph.
diagonal,
Yeah.
U-turn, reverse Bay
That's
Park.
a spider graph. That's what that is.
Okay.
That one's crazy. So is it time for my third one?
Yes,
is it?
go for it, my friend.
So the third one I decided to do was 9/11, and the obviously conspiracy theory I'm going with, like my the one that I actually like not know about, obviously, but have heard most about was it was an inside job.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, some of the evidence that they state supports this is when the 2 buildings, the Twin Towers fell.
It looked like a controlled demolition.
A controlled demolition.
Considering the planes hit
collapsed.
pretty high up. But also, apparently, weren't the buildings designed to do stuff like that if that event had happened? But
apparently so, yeah.
it seemed like a bit of a flimsy excuse at the same time. Because not only did the Twin Towers get hit, the Pentagon also got hit as well.
Which they stated apparently wasn't a plane, because apparently there was no plane debris. It was a missile.
Yeah.
But then you're thinking...
Allegedly.
Allegedly, sorry. But then it's like... what?
I feel like we've missed the opportunity to hit the allegedly button a few times today.
We should maybe have that on the soundboard. Allegedly.
That is definitely happening.
But yeah, you think, allegedly there was no plane debris. But allegedly a missile got shot into the Pentagon. The Pentagon's still there.
Yeah.
Like, if a missile got shot in there, people would know.
Yeah.
Like, there would be an explosion and people would know about it. Like, I get a plane crashed into it, but like, do you know what I mean? There was I would imagine there would be a clear difference.
Yeah.
Like a clear difference between a missile and a plane.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
one's going to cause a lot more damage than the other, that's for sure.
One of the far out ones I heard about this particular one was it wasn't like a crash in the Pentagon. There was like just like a hole in like the glass, and it was a bit like, you're just making it sound like someone's went in with like a laser cutter, decided to just break into the Pentagon, steal some secrets.
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, you know, it was just,
you've gone too far this time, Tom Cruise.
But what is it? One of the other ones to do with a controlled demolition was apparently buildings can't fall in on themselves like that.
Okay, so what was the reasoning behind that?
Well, that was why I was going to go with one that you said it was structurally designed to do that. Was that such public knowledge at the time, or do you reckon that?
I think it's just something that they came out with after. I think I don't think it was. Well, it's not something you would look up, is it? Like, I don't imagine how my house would capitulate on itself, because I just are blissfully ignorant to be like, hopefully it's still here. You know what I mean?
For two buildings of that size, I mean, the structural engineers they must have done something. I do agree with you. I like it must have been built to purposely fall in on itself like that, because it's such a big building.
Yeah,
or two.
And obviously, if it collapsed one way or the other, it causes way more destruction than if it. Well, yeah.
Well, it would. That's unfortunately a fact. You know, it would just clear wipeout zone, and it was a horrific day for the United States. Regardless, like that was terrific. Horrific.
Yeah, horrific.
Horrific.
I was about to say another T-shirt, but you're coming out with inappropriate T-shirts today.
So that's it. So, well, obviously that was just for like.
There's the fourth element as well of the plane. The official story is the passengers tried to
passengers of Flight 51.
Yeah, they tried to overtake the plane from the hijackers, but the conspiracy theory behind that is that two F-15 shot it out of the sky because they were like, "No more today, sir."
Yeah, I just can't take the chance. Yeah, I actually, have you watched that film?
Yes, yeah, and it's like the ending of it is like they're
it's
just like impacting and the credits happen. Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah,
it's like they purposely like crash the plane. That's what they try to take over the plane and just crash it, because I think they know it.
Yeah. It's like it's now or never. Like we're done if we don't, and we're done if we do.
So on obviously a bit that I've got up here on 9/11. So in a series of coordinated terror attacks, nearly 3,000 people lost their lives during the events of September 11, 2001. I was actually living in Northern Ireland at this point. I actually remember. I was 11 years old.
What was it like watching it on the TV for you? Because I was only like 6 or 7, so I wasn't probably conscious enough to realize what was going on.
Well, I was 11, so I mean, I was told it was a big deal. Like, obviously, I was a kid. I didn't know when people were just like, the Twin Towers. I'm like, what's Twin Towers? What is that? I'm 11. I'm not gonna know. I don't live in the United States. So it's not something I'm going to know too much about. But watching it, it was devastating. It was just seen on the news. 2 buildings falling, smoking, and you just can imagine. You can imagine.
You ever seen that documentary, The Fallen Man?
No.
You know how because people realized they were trapped, some of them started it's so brutal to say, but for a more quick way out, I suppose you would put. I don't want to sound harsh or anything, because I'm a human, and I'm
they were in impending doom.
Yeah, but there was one that kind of, that famous image of accepted the fate. Remember they tried to find out who the identity of that person was? You ever seen that documentary?
No, I've not. So what, he just kind of just embraced?
Yeah.
What was going to be happening?
And then because they spent like an hour trying to find the identity of this person, but then they kind of realized that it's not really important who it was. It was more kind of,
that's
a
a
symbol.
Strong message.
Yeah. But if you look up the Falling Man, I believe it was a Channel 4 documentary, so it might be on 4OD or something like that.
Oh right, okay. Oh god, where was I? So obviously with thousands more injured and over 2,000 first responders eventually losing their lives due to illnesses related to their time working at Ground Zero.
Yeah.
So
on that, firemen got trapped underneath the debris and that when it came down. Yeah.
Exactly. On that fall day in 2001, Americans watched stunned as 2 planes hit the Twin Towers in New York City, while a third struck the Pentagon in Washington D.C. and a fourth crashed into a field outside of Shanksville, which is the one we were mentioning with passengers of 51.
51,
Pennsylvania. September 11 took its place in history as the date of the most deadly foreign attack on American soil.
Since Pearl Harbor?
Yeah, usurping Pearl Harbor. That's goes to show that's absolutely horrific. We've all, I wasn't at Pearl Harbor, but we've watched the film, and it's still pretty.
And that was like
intense.
That was like a whole military force attacking a fleet when this was literally 2 passenger planes. And the buildings were so big and housed so many workers, and obviously the first responders trying to help people get out and stuff like that. Yeah.
So maybe it's because of the scale of loss that nearly 3,000 people could be killed within a few hours on a sunny September morning, or because of the lies that have been told to the American people to sell them on endless wars.
Is this the theory that this was an inside job to rally support for the war on terror, quote unquote?
Basically go over to Afghanistan and Iraq.
And then Iraq subsequently.
Oil and, well, I mean, the last time we got, well, I think it was also that, unfortunately, it's another one, is a lot of drug running, because we were taking like opium and giving them weapons, or it was vice versa, or we might have been taking the opium and then giving it back to them.
Have you ever heard of the rapper Loki?
Yes.
He's actually a really smart dude. He's been like, does a lot of talks and stuff like that, and he's quite big on the Middle East and what the West's done and stuff like that. And he was talking about something like in Afghanistan, like opium, like running and stuff like that, has went up like 90% since we've been there, which is nuts.
It's because, unfortunately, the war on drugs, they use, normally from what I can, well, it's not any evidence to support it, it's just my theory on it. It's like they use firearms and drugs to fuel any of this, and there's got to be a give and take. And we were at one point, I believe, they were somehow getting all of our weaponry. Someone's supplying it to them.
Well, we supplied. So the official culprit behind this was Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda. And I think they were part of the Mujahideen or something like that in the 80s that were fighting the Russians when the Russians were invading Afghanistan and had an occupation there. Yeah. And we were, because it comes back to that whole capitalism, communism, Cold War kind of stuff again, of where we were supplying them weapons to fight the Russians, and then, some of those weapons were then used to fight.
Yeah. That followed the attacks, but the subject of 9/11 has always been a playground for conspiracy theorists. Mm-hmm. One of the most prevalent theories is that the administration of President George W. Bush did 9/11, or at least knew about it and let it happen. Because the administration wanted to go to war in Afghanistan and Iraq for oil. Many 9/11 theories branch out of the core conspiracy that 9/11 was an inside job. The proof, supposedly, the Twin Towers could only have collapsed the way they did as a result of controlled demolition. This is false. So obviously this will go back to what you were stating, that it was structurally designed, that if that were to happen, it's going to fall in on itself. For, I'm guessing, exactly what we said, just to stave the area of destruction, Another favorite among conspiracy theorists, the Pentagon was not hit by a plane, but a missile. Obviously, we briefly went over that one. A number of prominent figures on the right, including Congress. This is obviously to do with the photo that you're not going to be able to see, unfortunately. Yeah. So basically, these people have peddled conspiracy theories about 9/11, according to Slate InfoWars radio host Alex Jones.
Oh dear.
Exactly. Is one of
They've got frogs in the water. Black Hawks are incoming.
One of the earliest and most influential 9/11 conspiracy theorists, and has helped these ideas gain ground. Just a tip: if you find yourself in a crowd with Green and Jones, it may be time to rethink a few things.
Did you ever see the footage of when George W. Bush is like reading books or something to the kids in the school, and that's when he gets told what's going on? Do you see that?
No.
You ever seen that footage? No. He's like reading books, like kids in a primary school, elementary school as they call it, and he's sitting there, and someone just comes and whispers in his ear, like, "Mr. President, massive attack, New York," and then he just kind of sits back and like has to kind of process it. Like, I don't know how it works, but he has to try and
think of what to do in that situation. Like, sorry, but kids, I gotta go.
He does kind of act a bit numb to it.
I was prepared.
Yeah, I know politicians kind of have to be like that because they're seen as like diplomats, and we don't show emotion because we're
Poker
talking.
face.
No, but like that's how stuff gets done. We're serious and we don't let anything emotion take over.
Yeah.
And then there was that big speech that he did in the Congress of the new axis of evil, and he named Iraq and North Korea and Iran, I think, was involved in as well. And that was when the war on terror started with, the invasion of Afghanistan.
And unfortunately for us, I mean, Tony Blair jumped on that bandwagon.
Yeah, Tony Blair.
Tony Blair.
The false hope. Huh?
Jumped on the bandwagon. Shouldn't have done that. In my opinion.
Yeah, so Osama bin Laden, the head of Al-Qaeda, that claimed responsibility for the attacks and all that, they were trying to get him. He disappeared off the face of the earth, but there were still propaganda videos of him coming out. So people were kind of thinking, did he die in those airstrikes? Did he not? Is he still alive? Is he dead?
Yeah.
And then 10 years later...
Well, they found him in a hole, didn't they?
Yeah, well, we ever watched the film Zero Dark 30 where the mission...
I've not seen it, but I've actually got it on DVD.
Yeah, okay.
I've
it's on Netflix as well.
Oh, I've got Netflix.
Just put it on at the same time, watch it on double screens.
All angles.
So, yeah, they found him like 10 years later in Pakistan and conducted an operation which could have caused a lot of friction because they entered Pakistan without being authorized military.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Pakistan's a nuclear power, a nuclear armed nation, so to speak. So
sure.
There was a lot of stuff that came out around that, but I suppose. But anyway, 9/11's always going to be a
big one,
a sensitive one as well, because the main thing that we should never forget about this is so many people lost loved ones and their lives. Like some of the things you hear, man, are so like when you hear like people making like, cause this is where it goes too far for me with the conspiracy theories, when people try to say like, oh, they were using phones on the plane and that, why would they be using phones on the plane? It's like someone's talking to their son or their daughter or their sister or whoever it is, like for the last time, and you're gonna die. And we can't even imagine what it'd be like to be in a situation like that. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not gonna think, oh, I probably shouldn't use a phone in a goddamn airplane. Yeah, it's probably the last thing that you're thinking at that point.
Well, I mean, the U.S. government actually concluded Iraq was not involved in their attacks. Obviously they're going to state that, but I mean, what do you think of that? Because that's
the whole Iraq angle was the big claim about that was WMDs. Yeah, that's all you could see in the news was they've got WMDs, and then the guy investigating, he was the United Nations assigned to investigate whether there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and then he died or something. Course. And then it was like 2 weeks later, that's when the invasion happened, because they didn't even conclude the final report, and guess what, there wasn't any fucking weapons of mass destruction.
There was plenty of oil.
Yeah. But the thing is like,
I've always believed about the oil thing. Yeah, I've always believed it was,
well, because it wasn't just an invasion to remove Saddam or to remove Osama bin Laden. We occupied the land for 10 years.
Well, exactly. I mean,
20 in the Afghanistan case.
My father actually done 2 tours. Mm-hmm. He done a tour in Iraq. I might be wrong with the names. I know he either went to. I know one of the places was called Basra.
Basra, that's where Britain was stationed in Iraq. Yeah,
I know. Iraq. But then the second tour was Afghanistan. So he actually done Iraq and then he done Afghanistan. And he said like there were times when he was actually over there and mortar shells were landing far away, but getting ever closer. And he just, one of the stories he told, one of the very few stories he told me was he does remember getting woken up because he thought it was like could hear the explosions and things were rattling and alarms were going off on the base, and he just says he had to get up, pack up, and go. And that's like having to be over there for maybe something you may not even believe is the right thing to do, but all because the Prime Minister at the time decided to jump on the bandwagon with America. It did kind of ease relationships with us, America, or what's the word? Conclude.
Yeah, but we also have to take into account that a lot of innocent people died in 9/11
Oh yeah,
on the American soil, but a lot of innocent people died from airstrikes and that in the crossfire of all this fighting that had nothing to do
with them.
with
even
Al
ended up.
Qaeda or Osama bin Laden.
We even hurt our own troops over there using our own military.
And what
Like,
was
we
it?
ended up bombing our own military.
What was it all for?
We don't.
The
we
Afghanistan
don't
war,
know.
quote unquote, ended. You know, the West powers have withdrawn, and now the Taliban have now retaken. There's a big controversy, and there's all the refugees, and we can maybe talk about that in another episode. But 250,000 people dead.
That's insane.
From like not.
It's not even insane. It's disgusting considering that I fully believe that it just shouldn't have happened. Obviously with 9/11, it's such a horrific event. Like I say, like no one can feel like such sympathy for everyone who did lose their like loved ones, and you know people who are still probably affected by that. Like it is horrific, and I do hope like support has been there for them, which I fully imagine that there has been. But you know, it doesn't take away from the fact that something real bad happened to that people. But was it right to retaliate in doing something that may have been, well, it was really bad to a different...
Was it proportionate, I suppose, as the...
but did they deserve it?
Plus, you think about all the powers that were brought in by government after this was done. The whole surveillance, you know, stuff of, like, people, like, data and that on your phone now is in correlation with what happened. It was meant to be used to keep you safe. Yeah. And it's been...
Now it's to keep an eye on you.
Yeah, manipulated, right?
Big Brother is always watching.
Yeah.
Big Brother is always watching.
And here it is in the diary room.
Oh yeah, no, you know, I mean, like
I just made a really bad reference to the reality TV show. I do apologize. I will become a better person in the future.
So see that was my third one, because I feel like that one, it can be a little bit like the JFK, when you can start going on about different angles on this. Was it an inside job? Was it just an actual outer attack? Like, were heavier organizations involved with this? It's a scary one. I don't really want to dwell too much into, and I don't really want to touch on certain subjects of it, because it's like we've both clearly stated, it's a horrific event.
I think that the main thing to take out of it is, through all the chaos of it all, how many innocent people died? More than I can imagine. You know, and nothing was achieved from any of this. Yeah. Any of it. None of it. Not for the people, anyway. Not for the people, definitely not. That was it's a very, very it's a very sad subject. I'm going to just end it on that one, because it's enough said on it, I think. Yeah, man. Powerful stuff. But I mean, I'm just going to have to leave it on that one. So what about, you've got one more, have you not? Yeah, I mean, we're going to end this on a lighter note. A little bit more of a wacky, lighter, harmless one. I do have one question for you. There's only one. I'll read you the information. I'll have one question for you, and then we'll go over that, then we'll end it there. Okay. As always, I've came in prepared again. Okay, so this is the new Coke conspiracy. The new Coke? Mm-hmm. As in Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola, yes. Right, okay. A theory claims that Coca-Cola Company intentionally changed to an inferior formula with new Coke, with the intent either of driving up demand for the original product or permitting the reintroduction of the original with a new formula using cheaper ingredients. Coca-Cola President Donald Keough rebutted this charge. The truth is, we're not that dumb and we're not that smart. The Coca-Cola Company's apparently sudden reversal on new Coke led to conspiracy theories, including the company intentionally changed the formula, hoping consumers would be upset with the company and demand the original formula to return, which in turn would cause sales to spike. Goes over the same quote again. The putative switch was planned all along to cover the change from sugar-sweetened Coke to much less expensive HFCS, a theory that was supposedly given credence by the apparently different taste of Coke Classic when it first hit the market. The U.S. Sugar Trade Association took out a full-page ad lambasting Coke for using HFCS in all bottling of the old formula when it was reintroduced. In fact, Coca-Cola began allowing bottlers to remove up to half the product's cane sugar as early as 1980, 5 years before the introduction of new Coke. By the time the new formula was introduced, most bottlers had already sweetened Coca-Cola entirely with HFCS. It provided cover for the final removal of all Coca, derivatives from the product to placate the Drug Enforcement Administration, which was trying to eradicate the plant worldwide to combat an increase in cocaine trafficking and consumption. While Coke's executives were indeed relieved, the new formula contained no coca and concerned about the long-term future of the Peruvian government-owned coca fields that supplied in the face of increasing DAA pressure to end cultivation of the crop. According to author Mark Pendergrast, there was no direct pressure from the DAA on Coca-Cola to do so. This theory was endorsed in a Time article as well as by historian Barto Elmore, who claims the reformulation was made in response to the escalating war on drugs by the Reagan administration.
Oh, wow. The Reagan administration.
Yes. So, my one and only talking point / question
Oh, gosh. Here we go.
is, how bored would you have to be to start overthinking about soda companies?
COVID. COVID, you live out, I don't know, somewhere in Duffish, or Cummingston, where there's like one road and there's not anyone your age and you have no internet.
Yeah. I mean, this stuff like beats flat Earth for me in terms of how out there and wacky and just
I'm sorry, this whole flat Earth and we live under a dome, like I can't get my head around that.
Yeah, well, I was about to say someone went up
Well,
in a
exactly.
spaceship and took a photo of it, but that could be a conspiracy.
Apparently it is. Apparently it is. But yeah, that's something else. Like, yeah, like don't get me wrong. I remember when Coke brought out, was it Coke Life or something? I can't remember.
Oh, was that like the green tinge? Yeah, I remember that.
Everyone was like, it's just the same. No, it's
no,
not.
it's not, man.
I hate it when all these companies are like, it's the same great taste. No, it's not.
No, it's not. That's marketing, man.
It's like Diet Coke and full fat Coke taste nothing alike.
But the thing is, like, stuff like the sugar tax and all that now, like they obviously have to make these products to fit in with their guidelines.
Well, that's why it's more expensive. It's 86p for like a can of that at Coca-Cola. When it's like
I do like how the
50p
Coca-Cola boss kind of acknowledged, like, we're not that dumb because we don't get found out, but we're actually not that smart either because that's evil genius tactics right there. We're going to sell you a worse product so you demand the original one to spike sales of the original one.
They might come out with Coke Life again.
That's some extreme paranoia though, right? Like, oh my God, this Coke is not as good as the last one. I know what that means. It means that they're trying to control me as a consumer to buy original Coke so it makes them more money.
Because the guy who originally came up with the recipe for Coca-Cola, when he done it and he was offered the deal, he was offered like so much percentage per can that sold, but instead he took the lump sum. Imagine.
Yeah.
Like, you could like leave that in your family for generations. Just leave it in the will. My shares of Coca-Cola to so-and-so, my son, and then so on and so forth. And that would just be absolutely mad.
Yeah.
Richest man in the world, I would say. Like, Bill Gates, you ain't got nothing. Or any of these people
in no, don't bring up Bill Gates. We're talking about conspiracies, man. Everyone in the comments will be going mental.
Bill Gates! He is a conspiracy.
Yeah, he is a walking conspiracy. Anyway, that's the last one I had. I thought it would be short and sweet, pardon the pun.
Actually, I enjoyed that one. That was quite a nifty one. I've never actually... I haven't heard of it.
No, neither have I, but I was like, this is so wacky. I'm not gonna
Coca-Cola.
Dignify this with responsive talking points and that. I just thought, even
how bored are you?
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's either Coke or it's Diet Coke. Just get over it, man.
Yeah, it's just one or the other.
So, conspiracy theories done.
We have done.
Or well, some conspiracy theories done.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't want to go do loads. Just a couple.
Pleasure as always.
Yeah,
speaking
man,
to you,
I've
my
enjoyed
friend.
it. I've enjoyed it as always.
Multicam. First episode of Multicam to me, to John, back to me. So. Yeah, and the first time using headphones.
We thought we'd snazz it up a little bit.
Yeah, we became prepared, sophisticated.
Pretty tech
For
savvy.
your viewing pleasure. And yeah, I guess we'll see you later. Oh, actually, before we go, so coming up, we've got 2 more musicians for Murray episodes coming soon. Aidan Grant and Scott Ramsey, and you'll see those episodes in the coming weeks. And John might be here for that, but real life also sometimes gets not to
unfortunately back to full-time work at the moment, so not
to say that podcast isn't real life, but you know other things get in the way. So he may or may not be here. It's not going to be a conspiracy of me kicking John off the podcast or something like that.
No, I just won't be able to make it. Possibly.
Or maybe that's a scam.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe if I play that backwards, I'll find out the whole truth.
It'll say like, I'm definitely not coming.
Right. Anyway, until next time.
Farewell, guys. Peace out from the NEC.
This podcast is also available on Google Podcasts, Breaker, Pocketcasts, RadioPublic, and Spotify.